But we'll start off with Jaws, and I'm gonna let you start off with what you don't like about it, and then I'll jump in.
I mean, as far as what I don't like, it's not really a specific thing. Like this is one of those weird movies like The Godfather or Raiders of the Lost Ark that are just considered classics and everybody loves them. And
Spielberg
it's just
classic, yeah.
yeah, and it's just like when I watched Jaws, I didn't see it as a kid. I saw it for the first time when I was in my mid 20s because I was scrolling through Netflix and it was there, and I was just like, I've never actually watched Jaws. It's considered one of the greatest films of all time. It changed the way we view movies. Like it was one of the
Mhm.
first wide release films. And even that, like it went into like 480 theaters, something like that. It was supposed to go to like 900. And the people in charge were like, no, cut that in half. I want it to go to enough theaters to get everyone talking, but not so many that people can just easily see it on any street corner. But it
Right.
changed a lot of things about cinema. And when I watched it, I was looking at it and was like, oh, this is good storytelling. This is good dialogue. Like they're showing things visually rather than holding the audience's hand and explaining it to them with exposition dumps. Like everything about it is just masterfully done. And I was bored start to finish. Like it's just a movie that I watched. And I'm like, I can see why people love it, but nothing in the movie connects or resonates with me. It's just I'm watching it and my, you know, film appreciation brain or wow, that was horribly phrased. But like the cinephile in me is just looking at like everything that's going into this film and I'm like, I get it. This is masterfully made. And the normal side of my brain that enjoys movies and entertainment and art is just like, um, check your phone again. Maybe something's going on. Did you do the dishes? Why don't you do some dishes while you're watching this? Like, I'm bored. Like, I don't know what it is about this film. It just doesn't connect with me at all.
Well, I think a big part of that has got to be I watched it when I was a kid, and you said that you watched it when you were in your mid 20s, and yeah, this came out in 75. So I don't know too many more movies that I've seen that were made previous to this year. But yeah, I mean, I can understand what you mean by boring, because you don't see the shark a lot. And it's definitely most, I think, modern shark movies have kind of gotten away from that, where they showed the entire shark, even Meg. And I'm kind of bored with
But
that.
see,
And I think
I
that this movie kind of brings that out a little bit more.
I don't really think that that's an issue. I think hiding the monster is a staple of the genre. It's not what they wanted initially, but it helps
Right.
with the suspense and dread of the film. And it's what a lot of people praise about the film, and even one of the things that I appreciate it. Like,
Mhm.
again, there's no one thing that I can just point out and say this is why I'm bored, because the dialogue's good, the filmmaking techniques is good. I don't know what it is about it. I watched it and it just didn't connect with me at all.
Yeah.
And and I'm just gonna mention this in passing because I think it's important to discuss this stuff. Like I mentioned it in Van Helsing and really leaned into it then because that movie was made in the early 2000s, so there was no excuse. But this is a white film. Like everyone in the film is white. Maybe there's a few other people in the background, but you
Right.
mentioned it came out in 75. Well, um, Night of the Living Dead came out in 68, and that starred a black man. Like Bruce Lee had already put out 3 films by this time. Like at this point in time, Separate but Equal is over. People of color are in films. So it's kind of not okay. It's not a huge deal because the time it was in was still I was gonna say it was still fairly racist, but now it's still fairly racist. It's not like racism has ever gone away. But
Exactly.
it's just one of those periods of time where representation was not even a consideration for films. And that doesn't discount the film. If you like Jaws, that's all good. But it is like something we need to discuss. It's something to think about, you know? We can't just ignore and pretend it didn't happen. We have to be mature and go, you know, even if you love this film, you've got to be mature enough to say, you know, it was a product of its time. It's not okay that it happened, but it doesn't detract from the masterful filmmaking that's taking place.
That's fair.
And
Yeah, I think
and I mean,
anybody
there
would say that.
are films that I like from the era that are also all white, you know? So it's not like I just refuse to watch or connect with anything that doesn't have some representation in it.
Sure.
It is part of filmmaking history.
Right. But I mean, here's my question for you. If is there a shark movie out there that is better than this that does it for you?
That's an interesting question. And yeah,
Because
no, I don't think there is. I don't think there's any shark movie that I love, and maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just like, I don't go in the ocean. This doesn't affect me.
yeah, because I was gonna say, as far as a shark movie goes, obviously there's no argument that this is number one. Like this is the staple. This set the tone. I'm sure there were shark movies before this, but this is the one that really went mainstream. The sequels didn't do that great, but still, this is the one. And they spawned, yeah, Deep Blue Sea, Shark Night, just a bunch of other Meg, a bunch of other movies that are just ripoffs of this, basically. And yeah, none of them hold up. And again, when this was made in 75, that is pretty impressive. And one of the big points that I make with this is, of course, the iconic music. Like two
Oh
notes,
yeah.
that's all it takes. And everybody knows exactly what film you're talking about. And that's amazing. Like, so between the music, between it being the best shark movie that we can think of, and for setting the tone for decades, I don't, I just, it's hard for me to rate it anything less than a 5-star movie on Letterbox because I have nothing better to compare it to. No one's done better. And I can't think of a better idea for a shark movie that hasn't been done in a bad way that would just be a ripoff if anybody tried to do it now. So
Yeah, even when you were talking, I didn't think about Deep Blue Sea. I do enjoy that film, but I enjoy it as a B movie, you know,
mhm.
as far as legitimate films go, which I guess I shouldn't say B films aren't legitimate. I shouldn't even imply it, but you know, just a more serious tone film. You're right. Like this kind of stands above the rest.
Yeah.
And I fully acknowledge its strengths and its filmmaking. It's just it doesn't connect with me. It's a complete miss for me.